Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be jumping in and having a bit of a look over what Warren Buffett's been doing over this last quarter by having a look over his latest 13F filing. If you're not so familiar what the latest 13F filing is, every quarter all the big fund managers in the US that manage over $100 billion under asset have to do this paperwork with the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission in the US, showing what they've been buying and selling in the last quarter. So it's a great way to look over the shoulders of some of the best investors in the world to maybe get some ideas for ourselves of potential investments that we could look at potentially making. Bear in mind, we are always looking in the rearview mirror, so this is not up to date. Like this, some of these could have been 3 months ago, so you've always got to sort of factor that in as well when you're looking over these 13F filings. But it is a good place to start looking at potential investment ideas, and that's what we're going to be diving into today and checking out Warren Buffett's latest 13F filing. So let's jump over to Dataroma. Dataroma is a great website for looking over these. There's a few different places you can look at, Well Wisdom and Guru Focus and a few other places like that. But I find Dataroma the best, good, clean, neat snapshot of what's been happening, and it's got all the super investors here. As we'll have a look over the list on the left here, we can see Bill Ackman. You've got some pretty other big names here as well. Basically, any of the super investors out of the US, they'll be on this list. Harold Marks, Warren Buffett, that's who we're going to be focusing on today. Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway, and a lot of these have only been updated on the 16th of February 2021. So yesterday, well, depends when you're watching this video. Michael Burry as well, Pat Dorsey, all the big names, all the big players, Monish Pabrai, Guy Spear, Lee Lu. Anyway, let's jump in and check out what Warren Buffett's been doing over this last quarter, just to get some insight to what he's been doing. Like I said, I find Dataroma probably one of the best places to look over this. But if you're happy with Well Wisdom or Guru Focus and any other websites that look at the 13, you can even go through the Securities Exchange Commission as well. But I find it's a lot easier, gives you a good snapshot. But then even if you wanted to compare it to the SEC's website, then by all means knock yourself out. But I prefer just to come straight to Dataroma, get the latest updates here. So just as we open up this first tab, we just get a snapshot of the latest holdings that are in Berkshire Hathaway, and this is for Q4 2020, portfolio date 31st of December 2020, and as of this date he had 47 stocks in his portfolio. Things may have changed, we're still looking about 45 days out, so bear that in mind. At that current date, the portfolio value was 269 billion, just shy of that 270 billion there. We're not going to dig deep into each of his holdings that he has in his portfolio. We're just going to be focusing on what he's been doing over this last quarter. So we can jump into activity here and just get a quick snapshot of what he's been buying and selling, just if you're wanting to quick overview. But let's just start off by having a look over the latest buys over this last quarter. Okay, so this is Q4 at the top of the list here, Q4 2020, and these are all the equities that he's been buying over this last quarter. Bear in mind, we're going to jump over and check out the sales over the next one. So a couple of things I want to mention, we'll look through later when we look at the sales, what he's been selling off. So just having a quick snapshot of this, guys, you can see that he's been buying up a lot of the telcos. So T-Mobile at the top here, he's added 117%. But also, make sure you go over to the far right there. You can only see that's only 0.14 of the portfolio. So not a big position in the portfolio. And as we scroll down here, some of these companies I'm not super familiar with. Obviously, T-Mobile is one of the telcos in the US. As we scroll down, let's see, most of these top positions here are very small positions within the portfolio. But now we have a look at Verizon. So that's coming in at just over 3% of the total portfolio of Berkshire Hathaway. So he's been buying up a pretty good chunk of Verizon. So that's Verizon and T-Mobile, a couple of big telcos out of the US. And then Chevron as well, which is quite a, 1.5%. It's still quite a good sized position within the portfolio, bigger than these other ones, let's say. And Marsh McLennan, I'm not too familiar with Marsh McLennan, but just that's the latest updates there. And we can have a quick look at Q3, what he's been doing over in Q3 as well. So he was buying up Pfizer in Q3. So remember that once we go over and jump over and check out what he's been selling. And then we have the T-Mobile as well. We can see that he was buying some of them in Q3 as well. So there seems to be a bit of a trend around these telcos that he seems to be buying over. Also Snowflake, Bristol Myers Club, GM as well, Bank of America. So that's the latest buys by Buffett. I'd love to get to know your guys' thoughts around this. What do you see him sort of shifting towards the telcos and that sort of thing? Drop in the comments below what your thoughts are around it. But nothing huge. There hasn't been any major acquisitions or anything over this last quarter. Let's jump in and have a quick look over what he's been selling. Okay. So you can see he's been reducing his position with US Bank Corp, and also Apple. He's dropped back another 6% there, which he also did last, so he's almost reduced that position by just shy of 10%. Let's cross out of that one. And also Suncor Energy as well, which is interesting that he's reducing his position in Suncor Energy, which is an oil and gas pipeline producer out of Canada, I think, from memory. But then he's also buying up. If we go back and have a look at what he's been buying, you can see that he's been buying shares with Chevron, which is a big oil and gas producer out of the US. So that's an interesting play, that he's selling one and buying the other. But interesting to sort of look at that. And also Pfizer down the bottom here. So he's only buying that in the last quarter. So if we go back and have a look over what he was doing last quarter, in Q3, we can see that he was buying up Pfizer. So he bought up just shy of 4 million shares of Pfizer, which is one of the vaccine producers for this horrible virus that we're all living through. But then, as we see over here in Q4, he sold off his entire position. So maybe he sees it as overvalued. I'm not too sure. And some of these may not be actual Warren Buffett himself. Could be one of his offsiders, Ted or Todd or someone else there that's actually making these positions. And also gold. Okay, gold. He's only had gold for, I think he was buying that in Q3 from memory. Let's just jump back and check out when he was buying gold, which was the gold mining company. Sorry, that was Q2. He was buying gold. And now he's closed out of that position entirely. So he's only held these for less than a year, which is not very Warren Buffett-like. He generally likes to buy things and hold them for a long time. But so, like I said, some of these may not be Warren Buffett actually that's buying and selling these. Reduced his position with Wells Fargo as well. Reduced that by almost 60%. And also GM, Apple, like I mentioned earlier. So that's the latest moves from the big man himself. I'd love to get to know your guys' thoughts on this. Where do you see this? What's he doing here? And like I said, there hasn't been any big sort of major acquisitions or major sell-offs or anything there. You know, all very sort of small, except for Apple. You know, he is selling off a fair old chunk of his Apple, so maybe he's seeing Apple has slightly been overvalued. Don't know. He doesn't really like to trim his position, so it's an interesting one. All right, guys, I hope you got some value there going over Warren Buffett's latest 13F filing. If you got some value from today's video, guys, it'd be much appreciated if you hit that like button. Helps me out a ton, helps push these videos out a bit further. If you've got any questions on anything I covered off on today, guys, drop it in the comments below, and I'll do my best to help you out. Also, if you're new here and you want to stay up to date with the latest videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button. On this channel, we talk all things investing, business, finance, anything in that sort of nature. With that said, guys, we're going to wrap it up there. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll catch you in the next video. Cheers, guys.